So today is all about location scouting. I'm here somewhere that I've not actually been before. I've checked this out on the maps. It's in the Surrey Hills, a place called Pitch Hill and Hurtwood. But I've never actually been out here for a walk or for a camera. It's coming up to sunset in a couple of hours. Really the objective today though is not to come away necessarily with a picture. Obviously we'll grab one if we can, but it's much more about scouting out the location, seeing what it's like, trying to find some future compositions, checking out things such as which way the sun comes round, where the light falls, all that kind of stuff, so that for future reference we can come back, know exactly what we've got in mind for a shoot and get a really, really good shot. Today is all about exploring a new location. I thought I'd run through quickly what I do when I'm looking for new places to go, to explore new areas and find something a bit different in my photography. So as most people do these days, it starts on the internet, the usual kind of places, Google Maps, all that kind of stuff. I often refer still to OS maps, and what's really cool these days is when you buy an OS map there's often a code on the back, which means you can then download a digital PDF copy which you can put on your phone, you can put on your tablet, and it just makes it a bit easier at home than unfolding a great big map and scouring it basically. A couple of other tools I use, Google Earth, and then also one of the best tools I use is TPE, the Photographer's Ephemeris, I hope I've said that right, which is both a desktop website that you can get for free, and it's also an app for both iPhone and Android. The great thing about this, I've got it here on my phone actually, the great thing about this is it will give you direction of the sun comes around, all your coordinates, all that kind of stuff on a satellite map you can take with you essentially. So it's really, really useful in planning locations. For Android it is free. I don't know about iPhone, I don't have an iPhone, but if you look here, so this is it here, there we go, and it loads up. It looks a bit like that. There you go. But this is certainly one of the most useful apps that I use when I'm planning my locations. But ultimately, nothing beats going to the place that you want to photograph. And often I'll take a trip out just to have a wander around, like I'm doing tonight, and get a sense of the place. So I think I'm just making my way out of the woods now. The woods are beautiful here. I really think I'm going to come back here, try some abstract woodland. I'm hoping in the winter it might get a bit of mist, all that kind of stuff. The shapes in the trees are fantastic, they really are. Yeah, this is definitely one for another occasion here. But I can see what is, it has to be said, an incredible view in front of me. Just a second, let me spin around. There's probably, I don't know how the camera is going to pick this up. No, I'll take some separate shots in a minute to overlay, just to give you an idea. But yeah, it is absolutely stunning, breathtaking views here. Over to one side, looks over the South Downs and Black Down, for anyone knows that. I think that's the highest peak in the South Downs. And then looking back the other way is Holmbury Hill and of course Leith Hill, which is a very prominent hill in the Surrey Hills, really well known, really famous. I've taken pictures up there many times. So yeah, I think I'm going to get the camera out actually, have a bit of an explore, have a look around, see what I can get. The light is gorgeous and golden, although unfortunately the skies are probably a bit too blue for anything too colourful tonight. So I thought it was worth taking a minute while I'll take a break from exploring to talk a little bit about composition in this type of landscape, how I started off, some of the lenses that I use, things like that. So when I first started out, I was attracted to the big landscapes. I'm talking mountains, I'm talking dramatic coasts, which is a big draw for a lot of landscape photographers. Unfortunately, I live quite away from those kind of places. I do a lot of photography up in North Wales, and as you've seen some from my other videos, down in Dorset. And they were the places that I kind of went to. However, I couldn't get to them very often, and I found I wasn't doing enough photography. So I live near the Surrey Hills, and I started to obviously go out walking and started taking pictures there. But I have to say, I found this type of landscape far more challenging than I did either mountainous, rugged terrain or coastal landscapes. In mountains, I was attracted to big wide-angle views, you know, that kind of 16mm ultra-wide type of composition. But that just doesn't work in places like this. You can see behind me that the view here is stunning, but it's incredibly flat. You're on the top of the hill and there's no other kind of mountains or key hills or anything like that around here. And that's quite hard from a compositional point of view because there's not a lot to fill the frame. I have 3 lenses on my kit, 16-35, which I still do use. You'll have seen it in use in the Dorset videos. And then I have 24-70 F2.8L Mark II from Canon, and then a 70-200. Now it's a 70-200 that I've really started to use a lot more recently. And this kind of landscape, it allows me to zoom into elements of that wonderful view and really accentuate it and make something of those details, which when you take it as a wider angle, it doesn't. I've got a couple of images that I'll show you. So this first one is of black down. This was taken at 200mm, and you can see it really does accentuate that really flat ridge in the distance with the lovely kind of toned down colour palette. And you know, I was quite happy with this image. It was taken from a viewpoint where I hadn't got anything decent for quite a while. So that's telephoto lenses, but I still do pull out kind of medium wide angle lenses, you know, that 24mm type range, 24, 35, that kind of thing. But I've had to learn some new compositional tricks to fill the frame. So I often look for things to frame the landscape or, you know, add or accentuate other features that put that gorgeous, stunning, kind of more flat view into perspective, so you really get a sense of scale that you otherwise wouldn't. Again, this picture here, this was taken up at Leith Hill, and I used the pine tree to create a fantastic frame for the view as the sun was coming up. And again, I've been up and down Leith Hill probably 6 or 7 times at sunrise to try and get an image like that, and I had found it really hard to compose. You know, and this method really works. It's pretty similar here with this view too, and I'm walking around looking for objects that I can either frame. Certainly there's some opportunity with the 70-200. There's a fantastic view just over this way of Leith Hill, Holmbury Hill, and I think the compression that a lens like that adds with the layering between Holmbury Hill and Leith Hill will really give a stunning image. I think I've got a composition up there. It's quite an obvious one, to be honest. I'm going to set the camera up and then I'll talk you through it. So, just as an example of what I was talking about when I meant about framing this kind of landscape, so the composition I've got here is a pretty obvious one, to be honest, and it's one, you know, that I'm sure hundreds of people have taken, but as an example, it kind of shows you my point. So what we've got here just behind me is a fantastic tree there, which we're using as a frame, and then also, I don't often do this, but there's a bench here, a viewing point, which actually sometimes that can just help add something to a scene, especially when you have a view like this that is generally very, very flat. So I'll just go back to the back of the camera here and show you what we've got. So just a second, let me just turn on the screen on the back. So here you go. So you can see here we've got the bench here in the foreground with the tree framing the view, and it looks quite nice. The light unfortunately has really kind of died on me. A tiny bit of colour in the clouds, but nothing to really really inspire you. So this probably isn't going to be a keeper. Okay, so no image tonight. We'll see how the one with the bench and the tree comes out when I get it back on the computer. You never know, but seeing it on the back of the screen, I don't think it's going to be a keeper. However, it's been a really productive evening. I've had a really good explore, and I think there's plenty of opportunity here for further visits, and lots of different types of composition as well. So whether it's misty, minimal, intimate woodland landscapes in the fantastic woods here, or whether it's putting out the 7200 and trying to accentuate that fantastic view over Leith Hill behind me. Anyway, that's it for today. I really hope you've enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel, and if you've got any tips, anything you'd like to see me do, ways I can improve it, anything else, please leave comments below and I'll see what I can do. If you'd like to see more of my work, go to www.michaelsowerbyphotography.com. I'll see you next time.